Hello, it's me again. I wanted to do a short addendum to my first go at the episode 2 of the Stevens Minor Family History series. Some things I stated incorrectly and forgot to talk about in that episode. So I had mentioned that in 2011, when I started my family history work, that the way I aunts living at that time, and that's incorrect. What I meant to say was 3 of my mother's aunts were still living at that time. So I had talked about, I think in episode 1, about my mom's Aunt Virginia. That's our grandpa's youngest sister. My sister Anne Marie and I had met her in 2011. She passed away in the next year, 2012. When we did go to visit her, she just, to me, she reminded me very much of our grandpa. I mean, they looked a lot alike and similar mannerisms and so forth. So that was an enjoyable visit with our mom's Aunt Virginia. Also, our 2 of our grandma's sisters were still living, Aunt Leona and Mom's Aunt Eleanor. Now, Aunt Leona, I met her a couple times. I'm sure I met her sometime when I was a child, but I don't remember that. But I did I had a niece got married and then a nephew got married down in Florida. Leona lived in Florida, in Port Charles, and my brother lived in Naples, which is about 40 minutes away. So on both those instances, in 2013 and I think again in 2016, while I was down there for those weddings, I did go to visit our mom's Aunt Leona. And then but she passed away in 2019 at the age of 99. Our mom's other aunt, our grandma's other sister, who's still living, Aunt Eleanor, she's 97 now, and I communicate with her quite a bit. I think I might have mentioned in the first episode in 2012 that I did go down to visit with her, spent 2 or 3 days down there, stayed with her daughter Marilyn and her husband Greg. She reminded me very much of our mother, just her mannerisms and her way she talked and just so forth. She just reminded me very much of our mother. So she shared a lot of stories with me. I'm going to get into some of those stories when I do a deeper dive into my mom's family. I also plan to do a deeper dive into my dad's family, but Eleanor, Virginia, and Leona will be part of the discussion when I get into a more detail to my her family, her siblings growing up, and so forth. So there'll be more about that. I also had mentioned that we moved to Northville from Detroit after my senior year in high school. No. It was after my junior year in high school. That's why I graduated from Northville High School in '78, which I mentioned in that episode. So we did not move there after my senior year. It was after my junior year in high school at St. Agatha. I had mentioned about the Beatles concert that my older siblings went to, that the ticket was $3. I did extrapolate, and in 2021 dollars, $3 in 1964 is worth $26.47. So quite cheap. Even, I mean, like I said, my wife and I went and saw Eagles and Fleetwood Mac a couple years ago for $155 or $60 each ticket. And the Beatles, even in today's dollars, would be $26.47. That's quite a bargain. Lastly, I did not talk about, had them on my list, but I didn't talk much about my grandparents. My mom's parents. Let me bring up a couple pictures of them. So Ed and Marie Minor. Now my grandma's maiden name was Reum. They married in 1925. I'm gonna talk more about them when I get into a more deep dive into my mom's family. Let me see where picture do I want to pull up here of my grandparents. Let's see, how about here? So I have. Be patient. I'm looking for a good picture of my mom's parents. I know I have them. If I can just find them. Okay, here we go. So I'll do this, and I'll share my screen, and my grandparents. There they are. Okay, this I believe. So that's my grandparents minor. I do believe this picture is from their 50th wedding anniversary, 1975. So that's now my recollection. Now, Grandma she was tough. She was a tough woman. I don't know for sure, but it appeared to me she was more the disciplinarian. Our grandfather was more like jovial, happy-go-lucky type of person. I don't want to say I was afraid of Grandma, but she was a little more stoic, not quite as affectionate and so forth. Our grandpa, according to my older siblings, and I'll get into that when I do my interviews with them, was more loving or whatever, not like, easier to get along with, whatever the case may be, or more amicable or whatever. I don't have a whole lot of recollections of them. I do remember Grandma coming over, and my mom would do her hair, but she would come with her mother, so my great-grandmother, we called her Mimi. Mimi is French for grandma, but our mom called her Mimi, so we called her Mimi. But she was actually our great-grandma. See if I'm pretty sure I have a picture of her somewhere. Where is Mimi? So our Mimi is Adeline Chevalier. She married Joseph Reum. Those are our great-grandparents. They're the ones I mentioned in the first episode, owned the farm in Ontario, Stony Point, Ontario. I know I have pictures. Let's see. Well, I'm struggling to find a picture of Mimi. Let's see. Not just her. Because our great grandfather. Well, here, I guess I can use this one. Yeah, our great grandfather Joseph Reum, he died when I was like 2, so I don't remember him at all. But I do remember our Mimi. Here we go. There. This is probably I best remember her because this was a picture later. So she lived to be 93, 94. And I remember she spoke more French than English, but I do remember my mom, Mimi being over the house, and mom doing Mimi and our grandma's hair. I do remember that. So I will have more to say about them when I do a more extensive, a full video on my mom's family and then her extended family. So I'll talk about Mimi and some of the stories about her a little bit more. So that's my addendum. I wanted to get caught up on that. So I talked about my Uncle Ralph's children. I mentioned them. I mentioned each of my Uncle Howard's children. Now, my Aunt Virginia had 3. That's my cousin John. He was the same age as my sister Anne Marie. And then Susie was a little bit, about a year and a half younger than me, and then Vicky was born 1969. She's youngest, and then my Uncle Don had 4 children. So there was Kathy is the oldest. So she was also born the same year that Amory and our cousin John was born, 1955. Then there's Laura. She's a year and a half younger. Then Diane. She's year and a half, 2 years younger than me. And then the youngest was Don. We always called him Little Don, but he was the youngest of the 4. He was like my sister Kathy's age. So our grandparents have 23 grandchildren. 11 of those grandchildren are me and my siblings. And then, as I mentioned, my Uncle Don has 4. Aunt Virginia had 3. Uncle Howard has 3. Uncle Ralph has 4. So 23 grandchildren. So 12 cousins for us. Plus the 11 of us makes the 23 grandchildren. So, okay. So that's my little addendum to episode 2. Please tune in. Thank you for tuning in this time. Sorry about having to make the addendum. But these things happen. Especially when you're a rookie at this. This is the first podcast I've ever tried to do. So I'm learning as I go. But I hope you'll tune in next time. The next episode, the next number of episodes are going to be interviews with my siblings. Like I said, the next one is going to be with my brother Bob tomorrow, and then next week I'm traveling to Northport, Michigan, with my cousin John, and I am going to interview his father, my Uncle Jack, and talk with him about his recollections, reminiscences of the family way back in the day before I was around. And then later in the fall, I get a chance to sit down with my mom's brother Ralph, my Uncle Ralph, and talk with him and get his stories, reminiscences, perspective on things. So I'm really looking forward to that. So stay tuned for the next number of episodes where I'm interviewing my siblings. This is great fun for me. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. God bless.